Hey y'all, good morning. How are we doing today? I am super excited to be with you again in this place. So, where are you watching us from this day? I'm so glad that I have you in right now. It's been a very beautiful morning with the colds and everything that is up right now, and it's been just so good. I think I like the weather, though it's kind of cold and chilly, but it's great. How are you? I hope you're sheltering. You've been able to put on the right clothing. If you don't have them, then try get some or reach out to get some because that is very key in this season. So you're welcome to the season. You're welcome to the holidays. You're welcome to everything. And it's really like very important to me this period because I know it's quite difficult for a lot of people who are grieving or who are going through some sort to navigate grief in this period because you keep remembering, oh, this was how we used to do it. This was how we used to move around. This was how we used to do all of that. And that's why today we'll be looking at a topic on the caregivers and how you can cope when you have lost someone or you are navigating grief. So for caregivers, it is really difficult. I've been in those shoes. I can tell you, when you lose your loved ones, it's difficult to be able to say, let me move from this stage that I am to the next stage of my life. But I just want you to stay tuned to this channel because this is where you get all the answers that you need. I have a very awesome guest in the house who has been a caregiver, and she is doing a lot very awesome work, for the kingdom in this season. And she is really taking it up to the next level and helping people move from being stuck to being unstuck. And you know what? She is still in the early stages of grief, and she is really doing great. I thank God for all that she's doing. He's doing in her life. So today, I just want to welcome you once again. My name is Ruth Hephzibah. But before we go into our program, I want us to say a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we've come to you this day. We have come to say we're grateful for all that you've done. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to connect, to share, and also to inspire. We ask that you guide this conversation. You bless us. You bless the listeners. You bless the guests. You bring comfort to those who are grieving in this season. And may this podcast, Grief to Grace, truly be a light in the darkness for many and bring them out of grief to grace in Jesus' name. Amen. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are welcome to Grief to Grace, that podcast where we believe that grief is not just the end of the story, it is actually the beginning of transformation. I am your host, Ruth Hephzibah, and I'm your grief and fresh thought coach and advocate. I am That's your transformational guide that will be able to lead you in your journey to the next. I'm a psychosocial rehabilitation specialist, and I help you through skills, giving you the right skills that you need in your journey to be able to move you from one stage of your life to the next stage. I always say, a fresh start is possible. If anyone tells you a fresh start is not possible, that's a lie. A fresh start is possible, and it begins with you. So you're welcome once again to Grief to Grace. And through this podcast and our platform, we not only share stories, but we also offer resources, we offer prayers, we offer worship and support, and also help individuals walk through the valley of their life. So everything we do on Grief to Grace International So we help you in your journey because we've been there. And we just want you to know that you're not alone in your journey. If, like I always say, if I, Ruth Hephzibah, if I can move on, if I can continue to live my life the way I am right now, happy and glad, and still remembering and cherishing the moments of my loved ones, and finding purpose in my grief and in my pain, I think you can do it. And that moment that you need to do this thing is now. So today I'm so excited to introduce to you something that is so precious to me, and that is my book. And this book is that book that you need in this journey. It is a pen that rewrites grief. A pen that will rise grief. A pen that will rise grief is a 60-day guide that will help you in this journey. So it is a book that will help you find hope and healing. This book is a collection of heartfelt reflections and practical strategies and Bible-based insights and skills and interventions that you need that will guide you through all of your process, your grieving process, your recovery process. And if you ever felt stuck or you feel like you're stuck in your life, in your pain, and you don't know how to move out, and you see yourself moving in a circle, not being able to navigate it properly, maybe you're going through divorce, through losses, through loss of job, through the death of your loved ones, or you even lost yourself because you are you don't even know who you are again right now, this book is for you. This book is for you. For everyone who purchased a copy of this book today or through this particular episode, you will receive a 30 minutes free session with me to begin your journey to healing. And also, you will receive a free workbook. So when you purchase it, just send me a DM and put workbook, and I will know that it is from you. So during this holiday season, I want you to really purchase this book and use it, because you can't be going into the new year like this. You won't be going into the new year in the same way, in the same light that you are. So I also want to talk to you about something that is me now, and that is um, the grieving family. The grieving family. I always talk about this grieving family stuff because when I was grieving, I had a lot of some people, some that took adopted me and my family, kind of, and made sure that we were okay. I had the Adams Macaulay Foundation. Oh, last year they were so awesome. Especially during this season, they did a lot trying to help. I had Susan and her friends. I had just a lot of people out there that were able to come and see the Fort Bend ISD and the likes. They were able to make sure that we didn't go through the season in the way we were. Grace Fellowship, just a number of them that we had in our journey as we kept on moving. And I saw it that, yes, this is a project I need to do. Because if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have known that when you're grieving, you cannot really get all these resources done, and you won't be able to stand, you won't be able to do certain things that you want to do. And in this season, we want you, especially using this season as that, which, because this is the season that we give back to our society. I want you to look deeply into this and see how you can join, how you can help, how you can be the light and adopt a grieving family. This project is very dear to my heart, and I just want you to go. You can scan the QR code that will be up right now, and throughout the podcast, and scan it and see how you can help. There are so many ways you can help the grieving family, the kids, the families, and the projects that we're doing in this season. So you can actually help by providing groceries, gift cards, or little contributions that bring light and hope to someone who is in need, and make the season truly meaningful. And we also have, like, for our sister nonprofit Echoes of Life, we have projects you can, for those who are going through cancer right now, especially rare cancer and kidney cancer. So you can actually be of help in whatever way that you want. And I know by the time you do this, God is truly going to bless you. Don't be despaired. This is that season that you need to give back to the society. I can't stop talking about it, but I know that when you do what I'm just saying right now, you will be so glad that you did. So thank you so much for joining us in this podcast. Um, I'm here always to help you. If you're stuck and you don't know what to do, we have free resources that can help you. So just DM me and I'll send you like free ebooks, free workbooks, or even have like free discovery sessions with you where we'll be able to talk about how you feel and how you can move forward in your process. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, today I'm so excited to um, introduce my guest and welcome her to this podcast. I'm so thrilled because Andrea Denney is one person that is very passionate. She's a passionate advocate for caregivers and those navigating complexities of losses. So, and she also has her own story. She understands firsthand the challenges of finding peace after losing a loved one. And she is here to share her powerful journey with us, a journey of rediscovering identity, a journey of reclaiming purpose, and also embracing hope. So, thank you today for joining in this podcast. And by the time I'm coming back, we will be coming back with Andrea, who will be sharing her story. So, stay tuned. Hey y'all, you're welcome back to Grief2Grace Podcast. This is that podcast where we find hope in our journey. This is that podcast where we transform pains into purpose. This is that podcast where we move from being stuck to being unstuck. And like I told you, that when you see me back, you'll definitely be going to see me with Andrea, and she will be sharing her story with us and giving us a lot of tips on how to take care of yourself, especially if you were a caregiver or you're navigating complexities of losses and you don't know how to move, you're stuck. She has firsthand information in doing this. So thank you, Andrea, for joining us today. So I want you to please just give it up for Andrea right now because she is awesome. And stay tuned to the end, because when you stay tuned to the end, Andrea will be sharing some incredible nuggets of wisdom, and she will be sharing all of her story and her heart's art. And also, we, for all those, as usual, that are active listeners and watch this podcast till the end, I'm going to send you a free copy of my book. So if you watch it to the end and I see that you watched it to the end, I'm going to send you a free copy of my book in e-version. So thank you so much, Andrea, for joining us today. So how are you?
I'm doing well considering. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. I'm
an
so glad.
interesting station trying to get all through this, but that's why I'm here to help others too.
Yes, I know. You're doing an awesome job. I was just going through all of your work, and I know that you're really doing an awesome job. And I pray that the labor of your work will not be in vain. It won't be in vain. Thank you so much for joining today. So now we have Andrea in the house. She's going to be telling us all about herself, her story, and all of it all. And as usual, we'll also come back with some prompts if needed to help her help you all digest all of it. And I'll give you all of the three nuggets that I got from it, and we'll be giving you those tips and Bible verses and the quote for the day. So now we have Andrea. Andrea, can you please share with us your personal journey of all that you've been through with the caregiving and how it shaped your whole identity?
So, me personally, I've been ill myself over the years. And so whenever I started getting well, my husband's health really took a decline. Um, and I became more caregiver than just wife. And I was okay with that dual role. But I mean, I loved him. There was no way that I was going anywhere, you know. But since 2015, he had 21 surgeries. A lot of that went from anything from taking out his kidney for cancer to heart attacks and 3 stents in his heart, and oh, just goes on and on. He had a part of his leg removed, so we was, on a prosthetic, and it was a hard road medically, but he was the light of my life, and he brought so much joy to everybody that was around him. There wasn't a person he ran into that didn't tell a joke to or try to raise their spirits for the day. And he was sorely missed. But I chose to make a tribute to that life, that light that he put in to the world. I wanted to do the same in a different way. I'm not the one to tell a whole bunch of jokes. I usually forget the punchline. But his memory, I wanted to make sure that I tributed that in the right way. My husband had PTSD related cognitive memory loss issues at a young age, to the point where I had to have a tracker on his phone because he would show up at an old house and thinking that's where we still lived. So, for safety reasons, yet still giving him as long as he could to have the most abundant life that he could. We knew his time was short. Um, and we did safety checks and issues to where he could still live longer than a lot of people, would in that condition. Um, of course, I was medical POA on top of being caregiver because of the memory loss. So we were in the hospital for about a week to 2 weeks every month, especially towards the end. But even so, I mean, you can figure with that many surgeries, you can just see how often we would be in the ER and then admitted or something. So it was a long battle with health for the both of us. And I came back bouncing, but he didn't have that kind of time. And we lost him this past September. And it's hard on days, and other days I do okay. It's like a roller coaster that goes up, down, and all around, and then comes back the right direction. Um, and so, because of the caregiver role, especially towards the end, where we had to have hospice in, um, the hospice does great, and palliative does great for the patient, but there's not really a lot of support for those that are the caregivers. They're like, oh, yes, you can have 5 days of respite per month. Problem is, to do that, you have to put them in a nursing home. That was his key thing he did not want, or he was giving up even earlier. And so, yeah, I couldn't take respite because he said he wouldn't come back home because he wouldn't be living that long. And he's telling the truth. He was fighting it. And so I didn't get respite. I got about an hour's sleep a night for 4.5 months after his terminal diagnosis. I got to the point of burnout, of course, and well, right before, I was so close, but right before burnout. And I flat out told him, I said, I know you want to be just me and you to the end, but I've got to sleep. My mental health, it matters too. So we called in my 25-year-old son, and he came to stay with us for 3 months. 1 month while he was still semi-active, but on oxygen, and in the hospital bed in the living room. And then the duration of the downward spiral that ends up taking, that life. And then a month after for me to make sure I was in the right headspace. And because of everything we went through with not having help as a caregiver, problem was I'm 45 and he was
Mm.
only 50. So I'm very young to be
Yeah.
to have to deal with this. And what ended up happening was we didn't get into support groups that were close by, because the support groups were through, especially with the memory loss, uh, the support groups were through the senior center. The senior center said we couldn't go. He was young, and he didn't have Alzheimer's. He didn't have dementia. What he had was dementia-like problems. So it wasn't killing him here. He was dying everywhere else. Um, so they didn't allow us the help. And so I started finding places online, and a lot of them didn't get the PTSD part instead of it just being dementia or Alzheimer's, because there's a very small misunderstanding in there that PTSD, doesn't cause memory loss. Well, I have proof of 22 years with him that yes, it does. And my passion is getting these caregivers the help they need. Um, and if that's through my system of trying to help them get the support and the training they need, all the way from the beginning of their journey as a caregiver all the way past the end of the caregiving.
Mm.
Because what happens is we give it all, right? We do it all.
Yeah.
We
We
give
do
all,
that.
we give everything we have to make our loved one be comfortable and happy all the way to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is we lose who we are. Who are we, right? Because nobody sees us during those moments. They say, oh, well, he's got nursing. No, 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 no. He's got nursing 3 days a week for 30 minutes at a time.
Mm.
Who do you think's implementing all of that?
The caregiver.
And so we hit burnout because we don't think that we're important enough because we're taking care of them and they don't have long. Or that's what we get fed a lot by the health condition, health people, and those that are family members that don't help, don't get it. They don't understand how it could wear you out by just sitting there. First of all, you never just sit. It's one crazy ride after another, Um, and so whenever he started to transition, it got worse, very, very quickly. Um, his heart wasn't in trying to fight to stay here at that point. Um, and whenever he went at home, not feeling a thing. He went in his sleep, and he was able, he had plenty of time to say goodbye, thank goodness. A lot of people don't get that. And because of that, um, whenever he went, there was almost like a calmness in the house. I mean, don't get me wrong, we were crying, but the calmness beyond what is normal is what took over our home. My son, who is very, very, very energetic, to where his anxiety and everything kicked in too, uh, he was so calm. And we were able to almost be happy for him because we knew where he was going. He was safe, right? He was there. He'd done his race. And it was hard for the next week. We were numb. You're just numb. You can't feel outright what people think you should, right? They think you're supposed to fall apart. But don't worry about the other people. They weren't in your shoes, right?
Hmm.
So instead, what happened was I had to look at myself and say, who is Andrea without her husband?
That is it.
And what does that look like? And how do I go on with the other half of me gone, right? And so I chose to start founded Caregiver for Memory Loss.com. And I take people all the way from the beginning of their journey all the way to finding that new identity of who you want to be and who's the authentic you
Hmm.
that you stifled for so long,
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how
Oh,
I've built
this
it
life
out.
is not.
And we've created something beautiful out of the hardship and the pain and the suffering that he went through. Um, like I said, he was always in for a joke and he was always so positive. And I just want to emulate that the rest of my days too. And as a tribute to him and our happy God, right? And so that's the preface of why I chose to help the caregivers is because I lived it and I was ignored and silenced and told that I kind of didn't matter. And not so much words, but in the actions that they portray whenever you are the full-time caregiver.
Hmm.
And so it was a battle with the healthcare facilities and stuff. Um, but you know what? We made it through, and he got to go the way he wanted, which was quietly at home in his sleep in bed, never feeling a pain.
Wow.
And um, I can thank God for that. You know, um, it's only been since September. Here we are in December. Um, but I can laugh and smile and find joy again because of two
It's kind of
things.
hanging.
My God.
It's hanging. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh.
It was hanging
Um,
at that point.
but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
No, you can continue.
that
I think we can hear now. Yes.
go ahead.
No, you
Is
can. We
it
can
not
hear you
picking up?
now.
Oh,
No, we
okay.
can hear now. It's
Um,
picking up now.
all right. So the 2 points that I made sure of that I took into the new Andrea was one, I kept my faith as strong as humanly possible and leaned on God for the rest. And number two is that I took that grief and turned it into gratitude, right? Gratefulness and gratitude is a better perception than because whenever you're in grief, you need to go through each stage. Don't get me wrong, and those are like a roller coaster. They go backwards sometimes and up and down, but you do end up going back forward. Um, the worst of any time that you deal with grief is that instance where it's so sharp is only 90 seconds. If you can hold on through that roller coaster for each of those 90 seconds that you hit whenever it gets so deep and it's so painful, breathe because the other side's coming along soon. It's not going to be stuck there, right? So I was able to take the knowledge that I have and the wonderful group of uh, coaches that I work with, um, and help the caregivers in a way that gets you to number two, which is turning that once you get past that 90 seconds and you heal a little bit from it, right? getting to that gratefulness and gratitude. Find every little reason. Write it down in a journal. You'll see, as you see your, sorry, my mouth got dry. But you will see the benefits of the change of your perception turn from the negative of loss, and start realizing that you have a future. You have an identity. You have options. Not that I didn't before. He stood behind me for everything I ever wanted. But whenever it's just you, it's harder, and you get lost in your own mind. You get lost in the what ifs, or the main thing is to remember the good things and hand the rest over to God. Let him take that hard yoke. He's put that light on you, right? And that's what I hold dear, is that every day I'm actually in a group, believe it or not, that we have a gratefulness and gratitude group on WhatsApp, of all places. And each one of us named this morning anywhere from 3 to 10 things that we were grateful and had gratitude for. And that's kind of like my diary of daily, putting it out there so that way I realize I'm still alive, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay. That right to be happy as well as a human. That's just a human need, right? And so we take those moments and turn them into gratitude. Guess what that does? That lets the light in instead of the darkness being closed in around you to where you can never move forward, right? And you take those moments and you grow them, because a little bit of gratitude starts realizing that there's more out there. You start opening up to that pattern of thankfulness, and that thankfulness just grows, and opportunities come, and growth happens. And my journey um, is to help others find their journey too, in the positives, and help them to guide them to that new identity of who partially they were before, but you're so much more now in wisdom and understanding and knowledge, that there's so much more for you. Now I'm 45, I'm a young widow. Um, and I'm not limiting God, which means that whatever may be, will be, you know. But I have come to a place where every morning I choose. We had a way of saying that whenever he was alive. There's things that hit that are hard. You have a choice to laugh or cry about it.
That's
And we
true.
always chose to laugh. Always. Right? Because it's not going to benefit you long term to stay in that depression. It starts attacking your own body. It starts attacking your own mind. I'm not saying don't grieve. That's exactly what you need to do naturally to get through that, so it doesn't kick you in the butt later, because it will come back in some way or fashion. So it's better to ride that roller coaster naturally, right? If you gotta cry, cry. If you gotta go in there and punch a pillow because you're angry, then so be it. Do that. But why stay stuck? Sort of like Ruth says, right? You take the
Mm-hmm.
stuck and turn it unstuck by reaching in to your center of whatever. I call it God, others say higher power, some say vibration, whatever you want to name it. Um, and you've got to find the happy in the hard. You got to find the fun in the hardship. You've got to find the laughter whenever there isn't any there, like I said, ride that 90 seconds, get to the other side of that, and use the rest of that time to help you heal. Deep breaths, working on yourself, finding hobbies, creating something for your own, right? Um, I'll tell you, a caregiver for memory loss is something that I founded to help everybody get there. Um, but at the same time, I am made for so much more. And so I chose to also have other aspirations that I like to do. And I'm relearning and growing from
Mhm.
that, from who I used to be. That's not who I am now naturally because I have resilience and empathy. And that's why I do what I do for the caregivers. But at the same time, I'm growing left, right, and sideways as is, right? I have many opportunities now that I never thought would have happened. I have a book out, you know, and that book, my first book, is for those that are going through the stages before they pass. But my second book is done. I just haven't published it yet because I'm still marketing the first one. The second one is Empowered Caregivers: How to Find That Identity After You've Lost Your Loved One. And it's a step by step program on my last tier that I help people with to help you get those first wins of aha moments and joy, and start to get those little wins that help you realize, hey, maybe I do matter. Maybe I am still alive. Maybe I have the opportunities to become somebody that I'm proud of, right? Not that you weren't before, but a lot of that got stifled for a while, right? And so that's my journey, is to help others in that stuck point and get them like Ruth to where they're unstuck. Yeah.
That's it. And that's a wonderful journey because I was a caregiver for my husband, and I can really resonate with you on the things you're talking about. And I'm so sorry for your loss, but I
Thank
know God has a plan and purpose for everyone.
you.
So most times we see what God is doing, but I'm really glad and amazed at how much you've been able to take the journey the other way. You've been able to begin to use it to help other people to be able to do much that you're doing. And I'm really so glad because I have a nonprofit too. I think we need to really collaborate on this, which is for caregivers, basically for those who are going. You say your husband went through cancer and other stuff. Usually, those who are navigating cancer, caregivers for those who are navigating cancer or who have lost their loved ones through cancer. But we really specific about the cancer, rare cancers and kidney cancer. But we do with others if we can. But those are mainly the people we work with. But caregiver then, because I share my story most times, and I tell them it was really difficult because people judge you. People don't
Yes.
understand what you're going through. People don't know the much that you're putting in to put that smile on your face, to make things work every day. You're still moving. They see you, oh, it's just not just now. My husband is sick. It should not just. All the time, my brother-in-law called me. Was the truth. I don't want to hear God is doing it. Sometimes it's just. And I had so many calls like that, even from his friends and other people. And I had so much faith, and I knew that God will do it. And when God did it in His own way, that the person doesn't mean that God didn't heal. That was what it means, that God healed him way, you know, and he found peace and purpose in what's going through. So I'm so glad that you're really working with caregivers, and I have that nonprofit which is Echoes of Life, and really specialized and doing a lot with care rare cancer and kidney cancer, and their caregivers. And like I always tell my board members, I am more interested in the caregivers because nobody, like you said, nobody listens to them, nobody gives them even the health system. They don't care about, they don't help the caregivers, they don't help teach you how to navigate what you're going
Yeah.
through, even help you. They talk to the person that is sick and bring
Yeah.
psychologists, sociologists, and everything to them and talk to them about how they can navigate the journey, but they don't talk to the caregivers. I think
That's
it is
right.
something the government needs to look into, like bring when in the healthcare system, if someone is ill, as you talking to the person that is ill, talk to his family, talk to their
Yes.
children, talk to the family, talk to the wife, talk to the primary caregiver, whether paid or family, because something happens, it goes a long way. That person. I'm so glad with what you're doing. I also learned something from you. I didn't know you can really get PTSD. I didn't know. I know that when I was navigating grief, I was diagnosed of PTSD at some point, and I used to have memory loss. So I had to always have a pen and paper. That's what made me get really used to journaling. Everything as you talking, I'm putting it down. My notepad is full in my phone because I have to write everything. I have to put everything in the calendar, or else I know why it happened. You know, which means that grief can actually, because most people undergoing grief go through PTSD loss. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, just to hype it up a little, I'm really so glad that you shared most of your stories and everything, and you poured out your whole heart. So, I just want to ask like three reflective questions. I did, but
Oh, you're fine.
one of them is, what is one memory of your loved one that still brings tears of gratitude to your heart?
Tears as in sorrow or tears as in joy?
Anyone. Anyone.
So, because it is a difference. So we were in the hospital a lot, right? And it was down here at the smaller hospital, not quite in Nashville. We're about 45 minutes out. And let's just say we were known in the hospital so well that he could go through and everybody on the medical teams knew him, you know, and because of that, this one gets you going. We had um, we had a room for 1 to 2 weeks a month, especially towards the end. But for many years, because of all the surgeries and all of the things that they did to keep from surgeries, and you can just imagine. So whenever we came in, everybody was fighting to have our room whenever it came down to the nurses. And the reason why is because my husband was like a Comedy Central clean version that he could do it all on his own. Couldn't remember one thing medically, but he could remember all those jokes. And
Wow.
God gave him that opportunity so that he could heal and help others be able to be enjoyed too, you know?
Wow. That was
And
awesome.
so it was never a dull moment. Those nurses fought every single time that they had to come into our room, whether they were our nurse or not. We saw a lot of different ones. So, they all got to love him. And they respected me because I was right there beside him 24/7, if he was in the hospital, because he didn't have that capability of making good decisions with medical. He didn't understand what they were saying half the time. The other half of the time he was like, just do whatever. And there was a lot of complications. So even during COVID, you know, I was all but one time whenever it was the worst of the worst, they didn't let me stay with them. But other than that, I got the okay to be able to be there every single time with him,
Wow.
because of the situation. And so because of that, that was a deep blessing because a lot of people didn't get that option. Um, but, it was the respect from the medical teams that got that in place because they would come to me and talk to him, ask him the questions, but listen to me for the answers, which I always respected them for.
Wow.
But he had the doctors, the nurses, the people that were coming to clean. We were the room that they wanted to come into every day because he was spreading joy despite whatever he was facing. He was facing death.
Wow.
And with a smile on his face and a joke in his hand, right? And that's only possible.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's only
Yeah,
possible through God.
I
Our
can
Lord and
imagine. That's a very great. Yeah, because I remember even when we started, when we were together at the backstage, you said, "Oh, my husband miss him because of his jokes." Wow, I can imagine. I can imagine, and I'm glad it's a positive one too that brings joy every time, and that he was able to create that atmosphere with
God.
people too and help them to heal in their journey. Thank you for sharing. So now, embracing grief now that you've done, if you could write a letter to yourself at the start of your caregiving journey, what would that say?
Just hold on a little longer. His race has been run, but yours is just begun, and it can turn into a fantastic, fantastic ordeal to where you are so much more than you think you are right now. You are so much more than you think
That-
you are right now, right? And the only person that can hold you back, God doesn't hold you back. The only person that can hold you back is you, right? He doesn't walk away from you.
Yeah.
You pull back from him. His hand's right there. Just grab it, right? And so, because of that, I would remind myself in the midst of being unseen and forgotten and treated like I didn't matter through all of that, it was worth it because I became who I am today in that resilience. And I can explain stuff like this to those that have gone through it too, right? And so, yeah, I would just give them hope in the hardest time. Just hold on. Just hold on a little longer. And then get support wherever you can find it. Get the right support wherever you can find it that's aligned with you and your values. That's number one. Because if you're getting support from someone that isn't aligned with your values, those things that they say aren't going to necessarily help you, right? Because you're in a different kind of situation or knowledge base or whatever it may be. So find someone that you can get a support network because you're going to need them. You can't do this on your own. There is not a caregiver on this earth that can do it all on their own without burnout. I'm sorry, you're just going to end up in burnout if you try. Do everything you can, right? To create that that network you trust, the people that you can go to in the middle of the night and just talk your eyes out and cry up if you have to. Be seen, heard, and loved by that network because you have that cup fill up your cup too. You got one glass and you pour an empty glass on the other side, and this one's full. What happens if you keep pouring the glass that has something in it into this one? What happens to this one? You lose everything because you do not have anything left to give. You have to build yourself back up during that time, or that empty cup is burnt out and you don't want to be there. That's dangerous. It's unfun, it makes it hard. What I do is I teach caregivers on the first part of it, how to not turn into burnout so that way you can provide the best quality care for your loved one. That's my mission. So that no household is to the point where they want to give up. Because it's a hard road. It is a very hard road, but it's worth it. If your loved one wants to be home instead of a facility, and you can do that in any way, the key thing
Yeah,
is keep away from burnout. So, yeah.
because you can't be burned out. That's true. And that's more when the person passes
Exactly.
because it's all your time, you know,
Yeah. You
as
got to find
well.
out who you are again, right? And where you've grown from that.
Yeah,
Right. It's a
that's
different
it.
person. You're a different person. Yeah.
That's it. That's what I did when I was trying to, because I had to go back and find out who was before him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why did he even marry me in the first place? I had to look at everything. I had to go back to a lot of pictures. I had to go back to a lot of memories, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that is really awesome because to move on, you need to accept that situation, like say, you need to forgive the situation, you need to let go of the situation. Oh my gosh. For some reason, my light is just going off. So you need to let go of the situation. And you need to let go of that situation and you need to now tell yourself the truth. I'm
Yeah.
at a journey because no one did it. And she said, you moving, the people you meet are just like a for that season. That season is over. Then God is telling you another season. So don't hold on to that season. Don't hold back to the season that is gone. Cherish that season and find a new season. And that's one of the books I'm actually releasing very soon, which is um, Finding Love Again. So finding love again in your community, in your life, in romance, in everything. Finding love again is very key. So now you need to now find love in yourself again. You need to find love in people again. You need to find love in moving forward again in your business and things that you do. So I think it's just key. Thank you so much for sharing. So now I said three questions. So the last one I'll be asking is, how has God surprised you with blessings in your grief journey? Anyway, I've read everything and I've heard everything, but I think there must be one thing, that really amazes you in your journey.
Um, I think I understood because it kind of cut in and out. But what was the key thing that you said in something in your journey that you're wanting me to talk about? Because it did cut
Okay, surprised you with
out. Oh,
blessings, in your grief journey.
so I there's so many, but I have found a group that I was in that was a it was a business group while I was growing this business. And I met some of the most amazing women I have ever met in my life. And they have been instrumental in helping me see and grow and find who I had one just last week. She said, Andrea, she said, you have so much knowledge and understanding, and where are you using it? And it gave me that aha moment. And I said, well, I've been going through so much, I haven't had time. She goes, but you do now. Find
Yeah,
who you were, what knowledge you have, what you're passionate about, with this as well. But mainly, in the identity of who I am. So she had me write out a long winded bio of everything that I've created out of that knowledge. And in my bio, my long one, it explains all of that. And I was flabbergasted because I knew whenever I was bedridden for 2 strokes for 12 years, I knew I went to college and I knew I took in a lot of knowledge, but I never got to implement anything because I was more caregiver, right? And so the blessing that God gave me was the wonderful friendships of women entrepreneurs that want to stay on the positive side too, right? And that has been so instrumental. Now, don't get me wrong, there's my Christian family, my beliefs, my God, my relationship with Him. Those
I
are all for me. That's just a given.
understand. Yeah. Then, but we need to also move on and
Sure.
empower yourself. As a woman, you should be able to empower
Exactly.
yourself positively and financially, so you don't have to be broke at the end of it all. Because one, the caregiver, as a caregiver, you maybe were not working, and the um everything need to have something to take care of the home.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
I talk to people about starting over again. Having a fresh talk about is starting up a business in line with your purpose. What is that thing God? Because when God was talking, you have in your hands is what you have in your hands that He's going to bless. He said, "He will bless the work of your hands." So if you don't do something, you don't get the blessing. So, and as
That's
a
right.
woman, you need to do something. You don't do like I tell people right now. Don't wait for this day to happen before you become empowered.
That's right.
Don't wait for
It's not going to
all of
happen
this to
waiting
happen
for it,
before you
right?
become empowered.
I have a quick
Yeah,
quote
I
on that.
waited for it.
Yeah, is that
Yes, I
whenever
know.
whenever you do something in action in that faith, that's when he can bless, right? So if you don't have action, it's kind of like hiding your lamp under a bushel. It doesn't do any good. That light is meant to be seen so you help others and you build
Hmm.
that light needs to be out there in the world because it's so dark right now. And the world needs people to be positive. And I'm not saying be happy and never have hardships and never cry. What I'm saying is you have a choice to stay there or move to a better place in your head and your life, right? So yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we talked about this today because this is one thing that is so dear to my heart. I'm so passionate about the caregivers. I'm so passionate about um, the people who are grieving. I'm so passionate about trying to move from where you are, from being stuck to being unstuck. I'm so passionate about fresh start. It's so and I'm like everything like we talk about every time on Grief to Grace and um, whole mission here and in line with because we know God is good. God is our Father. God brought this and God Grief to Grace. I didn't understand what God was doing. And He gave me the name. I can remember vividly the day He gave it to me. That was in March. And because I've been on Echoes of Life for a long time, and which we were moved, we added